and I'm just kind of trying to find Brock in the back, it's hard to see sometimes because like one of his only shortcomings is that he's not the tallest quarterback. He's just hard to see sometimes. But like one thing I love with Brock and scramble drills, like if you do lock eyes with him, like he is going to give you time to make a move and get open. And so he did. Once we locked eyes, I just tried to give him space in the corner of the end zone, and he just dropped a dime like he always does.
Love-hate quarterbacks. Of course, George Kittle on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy starts our love list here, guys.
Yeah. George Kittle, friend of the podcast, George Kittle.
That's right.
Of the show. Yeah.
5 of the last 6 quarterbacks to face Seattle threw for 250-plus yards and 2 touchdowns. This is a great spot here, Jay, for your man, Brock Purdy.
My man, Brock Purdy.
You are the OG Brock Purdy supporter.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's good or bad for me and my brand, but I was early on Brock, rode him all the way to Christmas night, and then was really screwed by him against the Ravens with those 4 picks. But that's okay. He's been up and down this year, but I think he's finding a rhythm now. He's got his players, his weapons healthy. CMC back will help a lot. He was great against Seattle when they played recently. He was able to cash our pickup line over Matthew on the longest pass play against the Bucs. So, look, Purdy, whenever he plays a suspect defense, he's going to be a locked-in top 10 quarterback, so he's starting Brock in every league.
5 of the last 6 quarterbacks that face the Seattle Seahawks threw for at least 250 yards and at least 2 touchdowns, and that includes Brock Purdy back in Week 6. And I think you could argue the offense is better because of the addition of Christian McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall's return as well. Just more weapons for the guys, even though they don't have Brandon Ayuk in this one.
As you see here, the quarterbacks versus the Seahawks, it's been pretty good overall.
Daniel Jones, who's going to lose his job this week, scored over 22 fantasy points against them.
Giants won at Seattle. Hard to fathom.
Hard to fathom that one. I picked up Drew Lock in the League of Assholes on the anticipation.
Well, you know anything about Drew Lock, he's going to chuck it. Yeah. He's going to chuck it.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's coming.
But don't you think he's going to start?
It feels like, I mean, whenever a coach doesn't definitively say they're sticking with a guy, it always
injury guarantee.
It's the injury guarantee, too.
That too. There's actually logic applied to this one, too, for the long-term future for the Giants.
Yes.
All right, Justin Herbert's next on the love list here, Matthew. Since Week 8, Herbert's a top 10 quarterback in points per game. They're throwing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh, by the way, I tell my daughters all the time, find somebody that looks at you the way Harbaugh looks at Justin Herbert. Man, he loves that kid, and they've sort of loosened the, I don't know if it's because Herbert's healthier or he's just more comfortable in the offense now, but, they've started to, instead of being so run-heavy, they've started to let him throw it, right? Since Week 8, he's the 7th best quarterback in fantasy on a points-per-game basis. 3 straight games now with at least 19 fantasy points, as you see it there on your screen. It's a good matchup against the Bengals, who, over the last 4 weeks are 25th in pass defense.
Next up here, Jay, Russell Wilson. Since Week 5, Baltimore is allowing 26 points per game to quarterbacks. You nailed it. It's just a pass funnel defense.
Huge pass funnel defense, elite run defense, terrible pass defense at the moment, which I still don't understand why they're so bad given the personnel, but particularly if Kyle Hamilton misses, which seems very much in play given he didn't practice, Russ will have a very favorable matchup. I suspect the Steelers will be down in this game. They're 3-point dogs, and Russ will need to throw.
I mean, outside of Bo Nix on this list, everybody's gone over 20 points. Multiple guys have gone over 30 points. I mean, it's just, and yeah, listen, Joe Burrow's on this list. Jaden Daniels has been amazing, but Jameis threw well against this team. Baker without all of his weapons. It's just a really good spot for any quarterback right now. Some others receiving votes, Matthew. I mentioned Bo Nix on that list. Mm-hmm. How about him making the love list on the others receiving votes this week? He's got Atlanta right now. They've struggled for a long stretch here on defense.
They've allowed multiple touchdown passes in 6 straight. They also give the 3rd most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. Obviously, Nix gets a lot of fantasy points with his legs. He's a top 10 play from this week. I do think C.J. Stroud, this is assuming Nico Collins plays, but we expect him to be active. And so going on the road to Dallas, where the Cowboys are so vulnerable, Stroud has averaged almost 19 points a game with Nico Collins in the lineup. And finally, the revenge game that no one wants to talk about. Jameis Winston going back to New Orleans, all the buzz. It's very similar to Tom Brady returning to Foxborough.
Yes.
Jameis Winston returning to New Orleans as well. Saints, by the way, 29th in pass defense so far this year. Just whatever. Jameis going to chuck it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the hate list here. A short one. Kirk Cousins. He's got the Denver defense. Not a good spot for Kirk Cousins there, Matthew. Denver is allowing the 3rd fewest yards per completion.
Yeah, by the way, there's been one home game, literally one home game this entire year where the Broncos have given up multiple touchdown passes. This game is in Denver, so Cousins has to go against the Broncos, who have allowed only 14 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks 3 different times. There's only been 3 times that a quarterback's even gotten to 14 points against the Broncos on the road. I have Cousins outside my top 20 this week.
Sam Darnold, our other quarterback here. Jay, Tennessee has the #1 ranked pass defense this season. Darnold's hit a bit of a cold stretch here.
Yeah, I think he's kind of revealed who he is, which is a fine, decent quarterback, but ultimately not the elite MVP caliber quarterback he was looking like to start the season. So tough matchup against the Titans. L'Jarius Sneed anchoring that pass defense. So Sam Darnold, you can probably find better options to start this week.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.